Welcome back, everyone, to another Coach Blakers video. Today, we're going to be doing a Summoner School. Blakers Summoner School. No, not my Summoner School. Basically, what I do is I go through and pick questions. This is going to be the first one, but I go through and pick questions, and I make it big so you guys can read it. But I go through and pick questions, and I answer them as I would. Now, if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Coach Blaker. I've been professionally coaching for over 10 years. Diamond in all roles. Diamond 2 is my peak. Hopefully, Masters this season. We'll see. But I'm thinking Masters this season. And I like to answer these questions for you guys. Now, these might be your questions, or they might be questions you have floating inside of your head. I try to get good questions. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's get hopped into it. So CS stagnation in mid to late game. Again, I'm not going to read this out loud. You guys can read that on your own. That's why it's there. But basically, this player is struggling with CS mid to late game. And this is something that a lot of players struggle with because it's very hard to do. Why do we have this issue? Why do we struggle with CS mid to late game? The very simple answer to that is we stop CSing. You guys are like, what? Duh. No, here, let me explain. The reason why we actually start stagnating in terms of CS is because of the simple fact that once laning phase is over, we start having random fights. We have that random fight, that number one random fight for no reason. Somebody looked at somebody else funny. They called their mother fat. They were like, dude, let's go. And the whole team's scrapping. After that, we recall or we died and we come back and then an objective spawns. So we fight for that. And then after that, again, we have a random yo mama joke pop off and now we're fighting again. And that cycle continues. So it's a random fight, objective fight, random fight, objective fight, random fight, objective fight. This is why you have no time to farm, you have no time to get anything because there's always some random stuff happening. Whereas a top laner that sits in top and does nothing but AFK, they're permanently farming because they don't really do anything, right? And so how do you remedy this? Very simple, once again. What you do is you basically farm for what? Gold, right? And gold gives you what? Items. Boom. So farm for items. Once you have those items, you use those items to do what? Fight. Correct. So you farm for items to then use those items to then fight for objectives. If you always keep that in mind, you will always be on the right track of constantly CSing. Now, whether or not your count goes up because your last hits are poor is a different story. But in terms of getting the actual minion count higher because you're near them more often, that's what you do. So when you're playing mid to late game, think about, well, I need gold for this item. And I need this item for this team fight. So where can I get this gold? Okay, right now there's nothing really happening. Oh, but there's a top wave. Let me go grab that real quick. Even if your team's doing some weird stuff, get that. And then once the objective actually starts, you're going to be the one that's got the XP. You're going to be the one that's got the gold. And then you carry that team fight and you win the game. Boom. That simple. That easy. You got it. Farm for gold and experience. Use that gold to buy items. Use that items to fight for the objective. Boom, bam. It's that simple. Hope that answers your question. Let's move on. Okay, the second question here is, I've been stuck in low elo for ages. How do I reset or change my approach to the game to finally improve? So this player has, again, like he just says, been stuck. What really happens when we are stuck? And we all get stuck. It just depends on how long you're stuck for. Some people are stuck for weeks. Some people are stuck for months. Some people are stuck for seasons. In this person's case, they are stuck for seasons. What is actually happening is something pretty cool. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And on my site, CoachBlaker.com, I'm blogging. I am. If you guys are interested in coaching, CoachBlaker.com is where you want to go. But on my site, I have the definition of basically what the Dunning-Kruger effect is. Basically, we overestimate our knowledge. And when we do that, we actually don't know that much. So in league terms, we're just going to say we think we know a lot, but we actually don't. And that's why we are stuck. Like, that's pretty much what it is. And that's applied to everything. Everything in life, there's people who think they know more than they actually do. And that's why they don't actually improve at what they're doing. And that is what happens in League of Legends more often than not. Now, this player is saying, well, my mindset is I don't really care about when stuff happens. Even though I know I'm supposed to care, I don't care. That is what we have in our brains. It's kind of a way to protect us, so to speak. It's a way to protect our emotions. We go through this thing in our head where we try to make excuses for why we don't do something, and the best excuse is always the one that puts the responsibility off of us. A lot of the reasons players get stuck is because they know they are not that good. Now, when you know you're not that good, it's very hard for you to face the truth and try to get help, or it's very hard for you to try to improve. What you're going to do is you're going to watch streams or you're going to watch videos, and you're going to think that helped you, and you're still going to be stuck. Why? Because you didn't really apply anything, you just know stuff. Knowing stuff is not how you improve, but that's the easy way. Improving is actively doing something. It's not enough to know you know what, it's enough to know how. How do I do it? That's why people get coaches. But that is what causes us to be stuck. And you have to think about, it's not you not caring enough. Because if that was the case, you wouldn't play League of Legends. You wouldn't be playing ranked. It's because you're afraid of failure. You're afraid that if you try hard, you're just gonna not do well. A lot of players are afraid of that. If you try hard and you fail at something, it's gonna feel horrible. So what's the best way to not feel horrible? Just don't do it. Be complacent. Be in your comfort zone. Oh, I'm silver 4 for years. It's fine. I'm gold for years. It's fine. I'm plat for years. It's fine. But the one thing you got to think about is that, yes, it's hard work, but also imagine if you went to work. Imagine if you went to school. Imagine if you went to college for 5 seasons, which is 5 years, and you got nothing out of it. You're wasting your hours. You're wasting your day, wasting your life. If you have 5 seasons, that's 5 years in the same spot. If you played one game, that's about an hour, because we're going to factor in the queue time, we're going to factor in the champ select, we're going to factor in the game, and then we're going to factor in like the getting out of game and then popping into a new one. So it's about an hour of your time wasted for one game. If you played 100 games that season, you have 100 hours wasted. So you wasted 500 hours in 5 years to do nothing but sit in the same exact spot. But again, what we do is we tell ourselves exactly what you just told yourself. I've gained a lot of experience over the years. We feel we are actually getting better because we are playing more games. Inherently, that should mean we're getting better. But the one thing you have to think about with League of Legends is it's not a game that requires you to have muscle memory. It's a game that requires you to have a good thought process. It's not a game of Street Fighter. It's not a game of Tekken where you can simply practice the inputs over and over. Yes, you have to know when to do the inputs. Don't get me wrong. Street Fighter, Tekken players, I know. But you can practice more by like playing more games. You'll get better just by actually doing. With League of Legends, there's a limit on how good you can get playing game after game after game after game. You're just learning your champion. If you want to improve at League of Legends, you have to understand macro. You have to actually understand how the game works. Players that are trapped in gold, players that are trapped in silver and below or whatever, even platinum players, they don't fully understand how the game works. You might think you understand how the game works, but the game is really, really complex. Only players that are about diamond and above actually get how the game works. Players that are obviously challenger get how the game works and it exceeds at like making, they're just really good. Like they're insane. I've coached challengers, I've coached grandmasters, I've coached masters, diamonds, and obviously people below that one. And the big difference between those like high actually diamond plus players is they understand what's going on. The conversation between diamond players and plus is a different conversation than between platinum players and below. But a good coach knows how to explain things to different audiences, right? Not saying that players that are in low elo are stupid. It has nothing to do with being smart. It's just the lack of understanding of the game. So once you understand that you're lacking that knowledge, again, you go get help. You go seek someone, because it's not enough about knowing. It's about how to apply what you know to the game. So let's wrap that up and actually make that make more sense. The reason you're stuck and the reason you feel like you don't really care enough is because you're afraid to actually get better, and you're afraid to really try to improve. It's very simple. If you want to improve, go ask somebody to help you. Doesn't have to even cost you a dime. But we just continue to queue up. Oh, I went 0-11 in my game. I'm really frustrated. Let me queue up again. Oh, I was 10-0, but I lost. I don't care. Let me re-queue up again. My team just sucked. And that's the mindset we have. And that's what keeps you trapped. So if you're trapped for 5 seasons like this guy, less, more, whatever, I really hope that you get some help. It doesn't have to be from me. It doesn't even have to cost anything. Summer School has some great free coaches on the Discord. The Discord, you could just type it in Google and it'll pop up. But I recommend getting help from them or for someone else if you don't really want to pay for coaching, because being trapped in the same rank for years is not, it's just a waste of life. And life is just too precious to be wasting that many hours. If you're a kid, though, whatever, go crazy, right? You ain't got nothing else to do anyway. But if you're grown and you have a job or you have kids or you have a wife or a significant other, like you got other stuff to do, I don't know. in my opinion, I don't like being in the same spot. Maybe you have other goals and ambitions and you don't really care. But if I'm playing a ranked mode and I'm giving my all to a mode, I'm definitely going to make sure I'm getting something out of it. So if you guys are trapped like that, again, get that help from that free source or whatever if you don't want to pay, and get yourself climbing. You deserve it. You deserve to be a higher rank. You deserve to learn more about the game. If you're going to put 500 hours a year into a game, I mean, not 500, I'm sorry. Maybe some of you guys play 1,000 games. I've seen it. That's 1,000 hours a year. But if you're going to waste that many hours a year, what is 1 hour with a coach or someone else that can help you if you're wasting 100 hours a year on it? You can get way more out of that 1 hour than 100. So again, not to beat a dead horse, but that is what's going on. I hope this answered that question. I know that was really, really in-depth, but you know, sometimes these questions need that in-depth answer. Final question here, just gotten plat for the first time, and I've have several questions to climb further. Again, read this at your own will. Basically, the player is saying that they've climbed to platinum and they're starting to lose. They want to hit diamond, but they don't know how. The reason why we end up in this situation is because there's champions that tend to carry us a lot further than we should be going. Pyke is a good one. This player plays Pyke. Akali's another one. Kha'Zix is another one. I want to say Draven's another one. Vayne's another one. I'm trying to get all roles if I can. Yasuo and Yone's are a couple. Tryndamere is a good one. Sion's a good one. Like there's a handful of champs in League of Legends that will have you climbing just because of champ style, and people don't know how to deal with it. And so when you get to an elo where they actually understand how to deal with that champion, you're gonna have to understand how to actually play the game. When you're in gold, when you're in silver, when you're in bronze, when you're in iron, gold is the average elo. That's the players that are just like, hey, we're average, we show up, we play. Anything below that is below average. Those are the players where it's like, we're not really at average yet, but we're working towards it. Platinum Plus is above average. That means these are players that actually understand how the game works, and they're shooting for diamond, they're shooting for masters, they're shooting for grandmasters. Like, these are players who actually understand. I don't think you have a full grasp of League of Legends until about diamond, but I will say that people that are in platinum, they don't just understand champions. They understand what champions do. They understand how to avoid these champions, which is why you run into the situation with Pyke where it's like, well, I'm starting to lose now. That's because people know how to dodge. People know how to dodge hooks. People know how to avoid your ultimate by flashing out or just zoning it or sidestepping it. Like, this is the elo where it's like, now we need to use our macro to climb to diamond. It's not about how well I play my champion anymore. It's about how smart I am in the game. So if you want to learn how to get to the next rank, the best thing to do is understand what you're lacking in that regard. Now, it's very hard sometimes for you to understand that your champion is the reason why you were climbing. It sucks, I know. Tryndamere's, you guys sit in top lane. You guys scale like crazy. Master Yi's another one. Again, they're just champs that are designed to be beginner friendly. They're champs that are designed to have a lot of impact. But again, or just high skill cap champs like Akali. Like, these are champions that reward you for pressing buttons really fast, and it's very hard for other people to deal with you. But when you get to an elo that actually knows how, then pressing those buttons aren't really going to help you that much. So it's very important you are trying to improve your macro as you're climbing and not take the climb at face value, because you are going to end up in a rut just like this, and it's going to be extremely hard to learn when you're in an elo that's above average already, when we could have learned in an elo below average or an average elo at its core. So again, remedy this by really just understanding what's needed. I can kind of give you a little tidbit on what you need for each rank and to get to the next one. If you're iron, you just don't understand the game at all, and you don't understand champions, period. There's no reason for you to be iron if you don't, like, if you understand stuff. If you're bronze, you understand how champions work, but you don't understand how the game functions. So if you're bronze and you want to get silver, understand the game, just the basics, all you need. Once you understand the basics, you're silver. You understand the basics of your champion, and you understand the basics of the game. You might not understand everything in depth, but you understand at least how to play the League of Legends, and you understand how to pilot your champion. If you want to get to gold, you're going to have to understand how to pilot your champion really well. Like, actually really well. Once you learn how to pilot your champ really well, then you really understand for ticket to go from platinum, you're going to have to then improve your macro. It doesn't have to be improved massively, but it will have to be improved to a point where it's above basic, like it's above, above average. Then once you get into platinum and you want to reach diamond, you're going to have to improve both your macro, both your mechanics, and they're going to have to be pretty decent. If you want to get past the barrier of diamond into masters, they're not only going to have to understand macro and your mechanics have to be really good, but also you really have to understand how to apply it. And that's something that, even though, like I say, I coach challengers, grandmasters, masters, that even though those three are above me, like I said, my peak is D2. I want masters this season though. I know the knowledge to tell them what they need to do and to help them understand how to apply it. But for me, executing it is just not my thing. But again, I don't really have a champ that I connect with. So I highly recommend you guys find a champ you connect with if you want to make that climb from platinum to diamond. That way you're able to really, really hone in on your skill. Okay? Anyway, that was the last question. Of course, thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate it. If you guys got any questions or comments, please let me know in the description down below. There are going to be more videos to come. But right now, Summoner School is in session. It's out of session now. It's back. I don't know what to say. Because technically I came back and now it's in session, but we done with the video, so it's out of the session. Anyway, if you're interested in coaching, custommaker.com is where you want to go. It was great. I love making these videos for you guys, and I hope you guys learned a lot. Thank you guys for doing what? Approaching this like a coach.